A pink plastic token slides across a damp teak bar. In Pattaya, this is currency, not for spirits, but for the illusion of devotion. A hidden grammar governs this neon wilderness. To understand what is truly surrendered, we must first decode the silent transactions hidden in plain sight. This pink token is not mere plastic. It is a unit of time, specifically 10 minutes. 10 minutes of undivided attention. 10 minutes of eye contact, laughter, and simulated warmth. In the neon-drenched alleys of Pattaya, human connection has been stripped of its ambiguity, measured, and assigned a strict, wholesale value. To the untrained eye, this city is a chaotic playground of raw, unregulated impulse. But look closer. Watch the mama-san sitting in the shadows, her pen scratching rhythmically into a worn paper ledger. Watch how every smile, every touch, and every brief conversation is quietly logged, calculated, and transformed into capital. This is a highly engineered ecosystem. It is designed to do one thing with terrifying efficiency: to trick the human brain into mistaking a commercial transaction for genuine romantic devotion. Without understanding this invisible grammar, the stakes are absolute. For the visitor, it is a path to total financial and emotional ruin. For the local women, it is a grueling emotional assembly line where their own humanity is the raw material. How does this machinery operate? How do sensible men cross oceans only to abandon their logic at the threshold of an open-air bar? To find the answer, we must step past the bright lights. We must examine the secret dictionary that fuels a billion-dollar industry of desire. This is not a story of simple deception. It is something far more complex and far more tragic. We are entering a world where loneliness is commodified. Every night, thousands of men step off planes at Suvarnabhumi Airport, carrying a quiet emptiness. They travel to this coastal strip in search of something they cannot define. They believe they are buying fun, or freedom, or perhaps a temporary escape. But the system waiting for them knows exactly what they are really looking for. It is validation. It is the feeling of being seen. And the system has spent decades perfecting the exact script required to deliver it. Every neon sign, every low-lit corner, and every rhythmic bass line is part of a grand psychological design. It is a theater where the stage is the bar and the performance is intimacy itself. Let us begin our descent. Let us decode the language of Pattaya. The journey begins with a drink. To the newcomer, purchasing a lady drink is a simple act of generosity. It is a gesture of polite interest. But in the ledger of Pattaya, a drink is never just a beverage. It is a highly regulated rental fee for a woman's time. When you buy that small, brightly colored cocktail, you are not buying alcohol. You are buying a temporary lease on a human being's presence. This transaction is strictly monitored by the bar's management. Every token earned is a tick on a spreadsheet. If the glass runs dry, the clock stops. The attention evaporates. The woman must return to the stage or find another patron. This creates a constant, subtle pressure. It is a meter running on human warmth. In this silence, we see the true nature of the exchange. It is cold, it is mathematical. Yet to the man sitting at the bar, it feels incredibly warm. His brain, starved of connection, interprets her proximity as genuine interest. He ignores the plastic token in her hand. He ignores the eyes of the mama-san watching from the register. He tells himself that he is different. He believes she is sitting with him because she wants to, not because the meter is running. This is the initial hook. It is a masterclass in psychological conditioning. By tying human attention to a microtransaction, the system makes intimacy affordable in small, digestible increments. It lowers the barrier of entry. You do not need to invest months in building a relationship. You only need a few hundred baht. But this microtransaction is designed to expand. It is the gateway to a much larger contract. The transition from a casual conversation to something deeper is not accidental. It is a progression engineered over decades. The bar owner knows that a single drink is low margin. The real profit lies in the long tail. It lies in the relationship that extends beyond the physical walls of the establishment. Every nod of agreement, Every laugh at a bad joke is a brick in a psychological bridge. The hostess is trained to read her audience. She identifies the lonely, the vulnerable, the men who have spent years feeling invisible in their home countries. To them, her undivided attention is a drug. And like any drug, the first dose is cheap. But as the night wears on, the cost begins to accumulate, and the language begins to shift. But how does a transient 10-minute drink conversation escalate into a multi-year, long-distance financial commitment? To understand that, we must look at the words themselves. We must examine the verbal triggers that bypass Western logic. Language in Pattaya is not used to convey information. It is used to manufacture emotion. Specific Thai words are carefully deployed to exploit the isolation of older Western men. Consider the word tirak. To a native Thai speaker, it means darling or beloved. But when spoken in the dim light of a beer bar, it carries a heavy, synthetic weight. It is a verbal shortcut to intimacy. It bypasses the slow, natural progression of trust. Another phrase is same-same. It is a linguistic bridge. It is used to break down cultural barriers, suggesting a deep, cosmic alignment between two completely different worlds. We are same-same, she says. It suggests that despite the age gap, the wealth disparity, and the language barrier, their hearts beat to the same rhythm. And then there is samsen, the quiet acknowledgement of a shared history, or perhaps a calculated appeal to his paternal instincts. These words act as keys. They unlock the target's logical defenses. Science tells us that when a human being feels selected and desired, the brain floods with dopamine. It is a biological survival mechanism. In the lonely visitor, this response is hyperactive. His logical mind knows he is paying for her time. He knows the words are scripted. Yet his biology overrides his intellect. He chooses to believe the fantasy, because the alternative, the cold reality of his loneliness, is too painful to bear. He convinces himself that she uses these words with everyone else, but with him, she truly means them. This is the core of the psychological trap. It is a cooperative delusion. Both parties know the script, but the buyer desperately wants to believe the performance is real. Yet this verbal intimacy is bounded by strict rules. And when the customer wishes to take this performance out of the theater, the system demands its toll. The linguistic conditioning is reinforced by physical proximity, the touch of a hand on a knee, the leaning in to whisper a secret over the roar of the music. These are not random gestures. They are highly practiced physical punctuation marks. They emphasize the verbal cues. When she calls him Tirak, she looks directly into his eyes, holding his gaze just a second longer than comfortable. This creates an immediate, intense bond. The visitor, accustomed to the emotional distance of modern Western society, is completely overwhelmed. He feels a sense of urgency. He feels he must rescue her from this environment. He wants her to himself. And it is at this precise moment of emotional capture that the system introduces its most powerful mechanism. The trap is sprung, and the price of her freedom must be paid. If these men know they are playing a scripted game, why does their biology override their logic? To find out, we must examine the physical transaction that releases her from the stage. We must look at the concept of the exit tariff. To take a hostess out of a bar, you must pay a fee. In the local lexicon, this is known as the bar fine. To the romantic visitor, this fee feels like a liberation tax. He believes he is paying to rescue her, to buy her a night of freedom from her grueling job. But this is the great illusion of the system. The bar fine is not a payment to the woman. It is a penalty paid directly to the bar owner. It is compensation for her absence from her shift. It is a business transaction that treats her as leased property. This fee does not liberate her. It reinforces her captivity within the commercial structure. She is not free. Her labor has simply been outsourced for the night. And the majority of that money stays in the hands of the bar owner. This system was not invented yesterday. Its roots lie in the mid-20th century. During the Vietnam War, Pattaya was a quiet fishing village. It was transformed almost overnight into a rest and recreation center for American soldiers. The logistics of desire were were standardized during this era. The bar fine was created to ensure that the business owners never lost money when a soldier took a woman away. 50 years later, the math remains identical. The customer pays the owner for the woman's absence, and then pays the woman separately for her companionship. This creates a complex power dynamic. The customer, having paid multiple parties, feels a sense of ownership. He believes he has purchased not just her time, but her compliance. Yet the woman remains loyal to the bar. She knows the bar is her permanent employer, while the tourist is merely a passing transaction. When they leave the bar together, the nature of the relationship changes. Suddenly, they are in the real world. They eat dinner, they walk on the beach, they behave like a couple. This is where the illusion becomes complete. The neon lights are gone, replaced by the warm glow of a restaurant. The customer forgets the bar fine he paid only hours ago. He feels like a normal man on a normal date. But for the hostess, the shift is still ongoing. She is still working. She must maintain the persona of the devoted partner, ensuring he remains happy, comfortable, and generous. She knows that her performance tonight dictates her survival tomorrow. It is an exhausting double life. And when the tourist eventually packs his bags and boards his flight back to Europe or America, the connection does not end. It merely transforms into a digital relationship, and the financial requests begin. What happens to the power dynamic when the transaction moves outside the bar and into the domestic world? How does this commercial lease survive when the tourist returns home? This is where the fantasy transitions from a nightly fee into a long-term economic lifeline. It is here that we encounter the legendary narratives of survival. Once the tourist returns home, the distance creates anxiety. He is haunted by her memory. He wants to maintain the connection. And soon, the messages begin. There is a sudden crisis. A family member is sick. A crop has failed. Or, most famously, the family water buffalo has fallen ill. To the Westerner, these stories sound highly specific, urgent, and deeply tragic. But in reality, these are standardized templates. They are tests. They are deployed to probe the target's financial ceiling. They are designed to see how much money can be extracted before the buyer rebels. If he pays, the relationship continues. If he refuses, the script changes, or the line goes cold. But to dismiss these stories as simple scams is to misunderstand the deep economic reality of Thailand. This is Isan. It is the impoverished agricultural heartland of Thailand. Most of the women working in Pattaya's bars come from these quiet, dusty villages. Here, the soil is poor, farming is unprofitable, and opportunities are non-existent. The money generated in the neon bars of Pattaya does not stay in Pattaya. It flows directly here. It builds modern concrete houses. It pays for medical bills. It sends children to private schools. In Isan, a woman working in a Pattaya bar is often not seen as a source of shame. She is seen as a heroic provider. She is carrying the entire weight of her family's survival on her shoulders. When she asks for money to save a water buffalo, she may be using a cliché, but the underlying economic desperation is brutally real. The flow of remittances from Pattaya to Isan is a massive, informal welfare system. It is a safety net built on the commodification of intimacy. Every transfer of funds represents a transaction between a lonely Westerner and a desperate rural family. The woman acts as the conduit. She is the bridge between two completely different economies. In her home village, she is a daughter, a mother, and a pillar of the community. In Pattaya, she is a number on a stage, a smiling face in a smoke-filled room. To survive this radical division of self, she must learn to detach. She must develop a psychological barrier that protects her core identity from the nightly work. She must divide her heart into neat, separate compartments, and she must never let them touch. Where does this capital actually go? And who is the true beneficiary at the end of the pipeline? Is it the family, the bar owner, or the local economy? And how do these women bear the immense psychological weight of this double life? To understand their survival, we must look at the mental armor they wear every single night. How does a human being sell intimacy every night without losing their soul? The answer lies in psychological compartmentalization. The women of Pattaya survive by maintaining a strict, impenetrable wall between their nightly persona and their true identity. When she puts on her makeup, her short dress, and her high heels, she is stepping into a character. This character has a name, often a westernized nickname, like Cherry, Mint, or Joy. This character laughs at every joke. This character loves everyone and no one. But this character is not her. Her real name is reserved for her family, her children, and her life in Isan. This visual split is her daily reality. On one side of the wall is the performance of desire. On the other side is her true life as a mother, supporting children she rarely sees. She does not view her nightly work as an expression of her sexuality. She views it as labor. It is no different from working in a factory or harvesting rice. By emotional detachment, she protects her heart from the constant erosion of transient encounters. She can sit on a man's lap, whisper sweet things in his ear, and hold his hand, while her mind is miles away, calculating her utility bills or thinking about her son's school uniform. But this wall is not infallible. When a tourist demands that the character become the real person, he is asking for something that does not exist. He has fallen in love with a fantasy designed specifically to please him. He does not know the real woman. He does not know her struggles, her cultural background, or her family obligations. If she agrees to marry him, she is often forced to carry the performance into her new life. She must play the role of the grateful, submissive wife in a strange, cold country, far from her home. The pressure can be suffocating. If she reveals her true self, the fantasy is broken, and the relationship often collapses. And if she stays in Pattaya, the continuous erosion of her emotional boundaries eventually takes its toll. She becomes numb. She loses the ability to feel genuine connection, even in her private life. And for the men who refuse to wake up, the cost of this broken illusion is absolute. What happens when these two worlds collide and the wall inevitably crumbles? Sometimes, a customer falls too deeply in love. He wants to buy her out of the bar permanently. He wants to marry her and bring her to his home country. This is when the script breaks. This is when the performance is forced to become reality. And this is where the deepest tragedies occur. Because when the illusion dissolves, the cost of the transaction must finally be settled. And the price is often far higher than anyone anticipated. The ultimate tragedy of Pattaya is not financial theft. It is the complete loss of reality. Many men arrive here searching for an escape from their lonely lives. But the system is so effective, the performance so convincing, that they lose their anchor to the real world. They can no longer distinguish between bought attention and genuine love. They spend their life savings, sell their homes, and alienate their families to fund a dream that was never real. They become permanent residents of the theater. Walk down Pattaya Beach at dawn, and you will see them. Elderly Western men sitting alone on plastic chairs, watching the gray waves. Their money is gone. Their visas are expiring. Their phone calls are no longer returned. They are ghosts in a city of neon. They refuse to believe that the pink token had a time limit. They believed they were the exception to the rule, and when the money stopped, the illusion dissolved instantly. They are left with nothing but the silence of the morning and the cold reality of their displacement. This is the final ledger. The math of Pattaya is uncompromising. It takes everything you have, and in return, it gives you exactly what you paid for. No more, no less. The system does not care about their despair. The bars will open again tonight. The pink tokens will be wiped clean and placed back in their jars. A new flight of tourists will land, carrying the same loneliness, the same hopes, and the same vulnerability. And the hostesses will apply their makeup, step onto the stage, and prepare to perform once more. It is an endless cycle. It is a massive machine that runs on the endless supply of human desire. The tragedy is not that the system is a lie. The tragedy is that it is a cooperative lie. Both sides are complicit. The tourist knows he is paying. The woman knows she is performing. Yet they both step onto the stage every night because they have no other choice. It is a tragic, beautiful, and devastating agreement. What is the final fate of those who refuse to wake up from the dream? They remain here, caught in a loop of perpetual longing, searching for one more token, one more smile, one more moment of simulated devotion. They have forgotten how to love without a price tag. Pattaya is not a place of deception, but a mirror. It reflects back to us our deepest, most desperate needs. It sells back to us the exact amount of connection we can afford. It proves that in the currency of desire, the most expensive thing you can buy is a lie you want to believe. When we look at the pink plastic token, we are not looking at a cheap gimmick. We are looking at a monument to human isolation. It is a physical manifestation of our willingness to pay for the appearance of love, when the real thing feels entirely out of reach. In the end, the neon will fade, the music will stop, and the damp teak bar will be wiped clean. But the human heart will always remain hungry. And as long as there is hunger, there will be a city waiting to sell you the illusion of fulfillment. One token at a time. We must ask ourselves what we are truly searching for when we cross these oceans. Are we looking for a partner? Or are we looking for an audience? Are we seeking to be loved? Or are we merely seeking to be flattered? Pattaya does not judge these questions. It simply provides the answers at a price. It is a testament to the power of human imagination and the depths of human loneliness. As the dawn light breaks over the Gulf of Thailand, the neon signs flicker and die. The street sweepers clear away the empty bottles. The city rests, if only for a few hours. But under the surface, the ledger is already preparing for the night ahead. The grammar remains unbroken. The machinery remains oiled. And the price of desire remains unchanged.